actress and a performer, and the owner of Pure Romance. She also owns 3 dating sites, websites, interracial relationships, Christian singles, and rich singles. So I'll turn it over here to Akua.
Thank you very much, Shelley. Today we are joined by Laura Campbell, who works in the mental health field, as well as Andrea Thompson, who works as a teacher and reporter, Marlene M. McKenzie, who works as an install sales manager, and Shelley Jarrett, who is the founder of SMJ Magazine. And so, ladies, thank you so much for having this discussion. I think that we're going to generate a lot of conversations and maybe some new thoughts as well that people hadn't considered. So Shelley shared with me some stats, and interracial marriages have increased steadily since 1967. That's according to the San Francisco Chronicles. 50 years ago in the U.S. Supreme Court legalized interracial marriage. It wasn't legalized in every state before then, and some interracial couples, I remember reading about how some of them had to move from the state that they were living in to go live in a state where they wouldn't be seen as criminals. Interracial marriage, it is on the rise, and interracial relationships are on the rise too. In your opinions, who is Mr. Right? So, Laura, how about you? Can you let us know who is Mr. Right?
Well, in my opinion, Mr. Right is the person that you fall in love with. Mr. Right is the person that makes you feel whole. Mr. Right is that person that makes you have butterflies in your stomach. Mr. Right is the person that you think about, you write about him in your journal, and when you meet him, you feel like there's a soul connection. He makes you happy.
Wonderful. And how about you, Andrea? Who's Mr. Right for you?
To be honest, and just to clarify, I'm the only one up here, I believe, that's single. I do have biracial children, but I am single. I would say Mr. Right would be the person that is right for you. It doesn't necessarily have to be the person that, because we know there's plenty of different types of relationships, but I would believe that the person that God has ordained for you will be that person that you just gel together, you just flow together. There's a chemistry that is natural. I believe that would be the person. It's just right for you.
Thank you. And Marlene, who do you think Mr. Right is?
Well, thanks for asking that question. It is a valid question because a lot of people are making Mr. Right, trying to make Mr. Right, and trying to shape and form Mr. Right. But really, Mr. Right is the person that you grow to know, the person that you get connected with. And a lot of time people say, oh, I want to fall in love. But I always say to the single adults that I minister to, you want to grow in love. And when you grow in love, though, you are planting and laying a strong foundation. Because when you fall in love, you can easily fall out of love. But when you're growing in love, you become friends with that person first. You get to know the person. Don't worry about skin color. Don't worry about the looks or exactly what they do, money, etc. You become friends with that person, hang out with that person, get to know the person, not just the shell of the person, but the heart. It's so important that you know the heart of the person. And as you're growing, you get to know, is this the right person for me? Is this the right person that God has selected for me? And as you discover that, you start growing into a relationship. And by the time that two individuals stand at the altar and say, I do, they are marrying the best friend because that is the right person for them. And they know it through growing into that relationship.
Wonderful. And Shelley, what's your opinion? Do you agree with some of the opinions that were shared by Laura, Andrea, and Marlene?
Sure. For me, I think Mr. Right is someone that I can connect with on a spiritual level. That's first and foremost. Mr. Right is somebody that accepts me for who I am. And and cares about me and my love language. That's very important.